just take us inside the call, put us in the room, and give us just your as much color and impression as you can about the reaction that you heard from Facebook.
Sure. Well, good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me back this morning. So it was a little bit of what I would call a surreal experience. So it was a Zoom call, the likes of which all of us find ourselves doing sort of nonstop in our COVID environment. But I want you to imagine sort of a Brady Bunch screen. And there were 4 people on our side, myself, Derek Johnson, CEO of NAACP, Rashad Robinson, CEO of Colored Chains, and Jessica Gonzalez, the CEO of Free Press. And there were a number of Facebook leadership. You had Mark, you had Cheryl, you had Chris Cox, you had Nick Clegg, Neil Potts, and a number of other executives. And the meeting started out in a bit of a strange place where we did a quick round of introductions. Mark made some perfunctory remarks, and they said, okay, we want to hear from you. And myself and Rashad and Eric, we looked at each other and we said, I'm sorry, you asked for this meeting. We want to hear from you. You know the demands. You know what we're asking for. And again, it's not just the 4 of us. It's almost 1,000 companies from around the world are asking for this. And the headline is quite simple. It's, will you make a public commitment with real deliverables to fight hate? And in fact, there was this sort of dance, like you go, no, you go. And ultimately, we just said, hey, look, guys, what we want is very clear. What your advertisers want is very clear. There's no confusion about it. Let's walk through the requests. Tell us what you're willing to do and when you're willing to do it. And, you know, I'm a former product manager. I used to manage software development. And when you have a product roadmap, you sit down with your team and you say, okay, what are the milestones and what's the time frame? And we got no milestones. We got no time frame. So the start of the meeting was, we were a little bit confused. By the end of it, we were deeply disappointed.
So what was, though, the tone of the reaction you got from Mark Zuckerberg, from Sheryl Sandberg on these issues as you pressed on that phone call?
Well, we pushed. We did push. And, you know, Sheryl and Mark and the other executives have a tone of, well, we're here to listen. And this is a journey. And we basically said, look, there is no journey in the fight against hate. It's pretty clear. Either you exhibit the kind of standards and practices that all other media companies do, and you say there's no room for hate in this business, or you kind of dance around the issues and give us platitudes. I mean, by the end of the call, there was one moment where Mark said, you know, I'm really pleased. It's helpful for us to hear about the nuances of these issues. And I said, look, Mark, there is no nuance to white nationalism. It's wrong and it doesn't belong, not on Facebook or any other kind of mainstream media platform. So I think there was a sense of exasperation that they seemed, again, unable to respond to some pretty basic stuff. Now, I'll grant you that it isn't always easy, but another statistic that we heard, they said...
Right. I was just going to say, when you say that to him, when you say that to Mark, what does he say back?
Well, there's a little bit of, you know, there aren't always the direct answers that we would hope for, that we were expecting, that this call was sort of positioned to be. Again, it's confusing to me why they're listening now rather than responding to what we've already asked for. Not just us, again, nearly 1,000 companies. And what it says to me, Andrew, is they are not serious about this. Mark's comments internally last week that were reported in the information, where he said all the advertisers will be back. I mean, we brought that up to him, and he said, oh, well, that was just a bit of it. I released the whole comments. But the bottom line is they believe all the advertisers will be back. They believe this ad pause will end and things will revert back to normal. But this is the new normal. The new normal is, despite the fact that Facebook and its properties have nearly 3 billion users, the most iconic brands in the world are saying they can't afford for their reputations to be dragged through the mud because, as my analyst saw yesterday morning, ads for things like Sony or Sirius or Geico showing up on Facebook alongside horrible, hateful, anti-Semitic, racist content. Like, This just isn't feasible in any other media environment, and it shouldn't be feasible on Facebook. So that's the point we made. And just to address, they said this is a journey. We're getting better. 4 years ago, we were told by Mark, all of our hate content was self-reported. Today, our AI, it catches 89% of the hate content. Well, I pointed out, forget the fact that that's a numerator. I don't really know what your denominator is. I don't understand the total amount of hate content on your website, so it's hard for me to make sense of that number. But Ford Motor Company has joined Stop Hate for Profit. They don't get to say, well, 89% of our seatbelts work, or as Kind Snacks, another company that's joined, they don't get to say, well, 89% of our bars on shelf don't have glass in them. 89% isn't good enough for the most sophisticated advertising platform in the world.